What is going on, everybody? I am back with a Seahawks post-game recap. Still alive. The hearts are still beating for the Seattle Seahawks. They stay alive in the playoff race. Just a great day for Seahawks fans. They defeat the Jets 23-6. Denver lost. That pick is still in great shape. We're going to go over all of it, the game, everything, the scenario for next week to get our Seahawks into the dance. So here we go. Let's get started. First of all, let's talk about, we'll go over a little bit of the playoff scenarios first, and I'll dive into the game. Obviously, there was a few things Seattle was rooting for. You were hoping the Colts could maybe upset the Giants because there was still a scenario if the Giants lost out that Seattle would get in. You wanted Cleveland to beat Washington because Washington had to lose one more game. That happened. And you needed Minnesota, or wanted at least Minnesota, to beat the Packers. That didn't even come close to happening. And truthfully, even though you might have thought early on, my kids are yelling out there, you might have wanted Detroit to lose to kind of get them out of there. Detroit winning is actually going to end up helping Seattle here. Because now what Seattle needs, Washington's been eliminated. The Giants are in. What Seattle now needs, is a win and a Lions win over the Packers. Had Detroit lost today, they would have been eliminated? I think they would have been eliminated. Yeah, because they would have been able to, with the Seattle win, they would have been eliminated. So they would have been eliminated. They would have had nothing to play for against Green Bay. Now Detroit is still alive. They still have something to play for. So they're going to go into Lambeau Field and give Green Bay everything they've got. The funniest thing about all this is Seahawks fans are now huge Detroit Lions fans. We want Detroit to beat Green Bay, but the Lions want Seattle to lose because they need Seattle to lose to the Rams, and they need to beat Green Bay for them to get in. So it's kind of funny how that works out. But that's your scenario. So if you're a Seahawks fan, plain and simple. You need a win next week and a Green Bay loss or a Green Bay tie. We've seen some ties. It is possible. A tie would put Seattle at 9-8. And the other team's at 8-1, so that would get you into the postseason if Green Bay and Detroit tie. I don't know what's going on out there. So I'm super excited. I'm so excited. In fact, I'm going to Disneyland tomorrow. That's right. We are taking the whole family to Disneyland. There's about 12, 13 of us going. So that's going to be a blast. And I would have rocked my Hawks gear anyways, but I definitely get to do it loud and proud after a win. So let's dive into the game here. Real nice performance for the Seahawks. Great bounce back game for a team that's looked kind of dead for 3-4 weeks here. They really stepped up with the season on the line and played their tails off today. Offensively, Kenneth Walker was amazing. I don't have the box score in front of me. I think he went for like 120 or 130 or something on the ground. He had a great game. Right from the start, ripped off a 60-yard run. The Seahawks had almost 200 yards of rushing, which is the most the Jets have given up all season. It's a good Jets defense Seattle ran on today. This was not some low down defense. In fact, the Jets' strength is their defense. I thought Seattle would lose the game because I didn't think they'd really be able to move the ball in the Jets, and they did. Now they had some drives stall out, but for the most part, they moved the ball pretty much at will. And they also did it without Tyler Lockett, essentially. Lockett played a little bit in the first quarter, came off towards the end of the second quarter, came back in the fourth. I think he was just at that point where, and it was his leg too, not his hand, they were saying. If Seattle was out of it, Lockett probably doesn't come back in, but they probably felt they needed him. So he probably just gutted it out and came in. I'm assuming Lockett was more of a decoy, than anything else. Seahawks Snowman's out of vision now, but that's okay. More than anything else, especially in that second half, and third quarter and fourth quarter. He was more of a decoy. I said the running game was fantastic. The run blocking was great. I thought Stone Forsythe, who made his first ever start at right tackle, held his own. Thought he did pretty well. There was a sack that Geno took, I think, in the second quarter, and the announcers kind of blamed Stone Forsythe. I didn't really blame him. Geno rolled out. Probably should have gotten rid of the ball. But it's third down, trying to make a play. I get it. But Geno kind of sidestepped here, and he was in front of Forsythe, and I forgot who the D-end was. I don't know if it was Franklin Myers or Carl Lawson, but he just disengaged from Forsythe to get to Geno. There's nothing Stone Forsythe can do there. If he stops, let's just say it was Carl Lawson, just for the sake of the video. If he tries to stop Carl Lawson, he's going to hold him because Lawson's going this way. Forsythe's going to be holding him. So he's either going to get a holding penalty, which is probably better than giving up a sack, but, he's in a lose-lose situation. Gino kind of created that sack, is what I'm trying to say, by the way he kind of manipulated the pocket and stepped over. Gino has a tendency to do that. I love Gino, but he has some of the same stuff Russ has where they take sacks. I didn't put that on Stone Forsythe. Now, I don't know how PFF graded him. Not that PFF is the end-all, be-all of everything, but I thought Stone Forsythe hung in there pretty well. I didn't hear Quentin Williams' name called once today. That's a huge win for the Seahawks. So their interior offensive line did a real nice job, and it's a unit, not the tackles as much because Cross, Lucas, Forsythe, Curhan, they're all young guys. I'm not going to get on them. But that interior line, Blythe, Haynes, Jackson, Lewis, have all struggled a little bit, maybe outside of Damian Lewis. And listen, again, I don't know. It's hard when you're first watching a game to get a good sense of everything because you're watching results. Like Walker went for 20 yards. I'm not really focused on how did Austin Blythe do on turning his man out there. I'm just focused on the result of the play. So, but I thought not hearing Quentin Williams' name. Just gonna take a little water here. Sorry about that, is a huge positive. So somebody did something right up front for the Seahawks. That was great to see. The defense was good. Listen, I thought Mike White looked bad. He's probably still hurt. He looked like he was pushing through it. He started out okay. I thought when he was in script, he was all right. One thing I preach, and I talked about this a long time ago, is the way you beat teams is get leads on them. Like any team, the worst roster in the league can hang in there in a one-score game because they can run their offense. But what happened to Mike White is he got down 14, 17 points, and they kind of had to go off script. They got away from what was working a little bit because they're playing catch-up, and I thought Mike White really struggled. I thought Seattle's pass rush was good. They had 4 sacks, 2.5 from Darrell Taylor, who now I think is up to 8 sacks on the year, and Quentin Jefferson added a sack and a half. I'll say this about Darrell Taylor. I don't think he's the premier pass rusher you need. He's not the Nick Bosa, obviously, but he is a good complementary pass rusher. And Darrell Taylor is a perfect number 2 guy that you can have in there as a pass rusher. Thought he played real well. Yeah, I really thought the entire D-line did a good job. They gave up some runs early, but they really got stout on that run defense maybe even after the first quarter. I really thought they buckled down on that run defense. You can see the difference it makes when our guy, Big Al Woods, is in there. He is a monster of a man to move. There was a tackle he had in the backfield. He just threw the running back to the ground. You can see the difference Al Woods makes, and he makes other guys better. I thought Shelby Harris played better today. I saw Puna Ford a little bit more today. And that's a testament to a body and a guy like Al Woods that can assume those double teams and help make that happen. You got to have a guy like Al Woods if you want to stop the run. He's not a premier pass rusher, but you need those guys. And the good things about guys like Al Woods is they're pretty cheap and easy to find. They don't commend a high dollar amount in the open market. So that's why this notion that Seattle's defense isn't talented, it has no chance next year to be good. I've called out the defense for not being super talented, but there's plenty of reasons why this defense can still be good next year. There are pieces there. If you could add some elite level talent in there, yeah, this defense can be good. They've been pretty good the last 3 weeks. I mean, they haven't been Legion of Boom good, but we were spoiled by that too. They've been fine. They've done the last 3 weeks. The Niners, the Chiefs, and the Jets, they have done what they needed to do to win the game. I even thought up until Al Woods went out, they actually held up okay against Carolina. It was just turnovers and stuff gave Carolina a short field. So the defense is playing better. Again, I'm not sending this defense to Canton. They still have a lot of work to do. I would still look to address that D-line early in the draft. But it's not so lost that there's no talent on this defense whatsoever. Jordan Brooks went down with a knee injury. I'm going to take a shot in the dark. I haven't seen Pete Carroll's post-game presser yet, but I'm going to assume that's season ending for Jordan Brooks. That's a shame. You could see in his face when he was being carted off. how dejected he was about that. I will say that the tackling got a little better when Brooks was out. Like, I thought Tanner Muse played well. Now, Seattle was ahead. I'm not at all trying to sit here and say Tanner Muse is better than Jordan Brooks. I want Jordan Brooks healthy. He's a good player. But I also think that his tackle stat is a little overrated. I mean, he's good, but, how many of those tackles are for losses and stuff? A lot of them were downfield. It's not a knock. I'm not trying to knock Jordan Brooks. Seattle is worse without Jordan Brooks. But they held up okay. I thought Cody Barton had a nice game. He blew, for the first time in like 15 years, the Seahawks blew up a screen. It was in the second quarter, I think it was 17-3, and the Jets tried to run a screen, and Cody Barton just absolutely blew it up. It looked like it was there, my kids. I don't know if you can hear him. I apologize if you can hear him through this, but and it looked like the screen was set up to work, and Cody Barton just blew it up. So the Seahawks have stopped a screen pass and the couch, whatever you want to say. They have done it. But yeah, listen, I think some of it was the Jets, with Mike White still being hurt and just their inability to move the football. But Seattle's defense did what they needed to do. 3 turnovers. Quandre Diggs with a pick. Diggs has played much better the last few weeks. He played well against Kansas City. I said that in my postgame. He played well again today. I actually thought he was, he's been better in the second half of the year. San Francisco game wasn't his finest, but he has been better. I was at a point, I was wondering, is Quandre Diggs a cut candidate? I'm starting to get to the point now where I think you do bring Diggs back. You have to have somebody here that can help lead the defense. Diggs has played much better. Nice interception on a play that I think Jonathan Abram got away with a pass interference, but we'll take it. Michael Jackson had his first pick of the year. Really cool to see. I'm not going to do a he. You don't want to hear me saying it. That was awesome. Honestly, this is where Mike White was bad. I mean, and again, it could be injury related. Seattle could have had 3 or 4 more picks. I mean, there were some close ones. I could go through and find 3. Tariq Woolen almost had one. There was one that was tipped that I think Tanner Muse wasn't too far off from. Jonathan Abram, I think, was about to have one, but Barton kind of flew in front of him. Not that, you're not anticipating that. And I think it kind of got in Abram's vision, and he didn't get it. I mean, obviously, you're never going to have 6, 7 picks because... Sorry, my kids are yelling. I'm sorry. You're never going to have 6 or 7 picks because, some of those were on the same drive as the picks, but there was a lot of throws that Seattle could have intercepted. Hey, for the first time this year, the Seahawks did not turn the football over. It's amazing what not turning the football over can do for you. The offense was not amazing in the second half. They were definitely stalling out, but they did enough. They picked up some crucial first downs and kept the clock moving. But it's amazing what no turnovers can do for you. Jason Myers missed a field goal. He's been great this year. I can't knock Jason Myers. It was one he should have made, and it probably would have put the game away. But Jets weren't coming. Jets offense couldn't do it. I will say one thing. There was a 4th and 1 that Seattle. I'll say 2 things about the coaching. First of all, credit to this defensive staff for getting the most out of this team. They have played better the last month or so of the season. It's unfortunate that the offense kind of ran into some really good defenses and just sputtered against Kansas City because the defense has been playing better. But 2 things with the coaching. The first is Pete Carroll was getting some slack for punting. There was a 4th and 1. I think it was third quarter. Yeah, because they were going that way. Yeah, it was late in the third quarter, 5 or 6 minutes ago. It was 4th and 1 about the 41-yard line, and he punted. And, of course, Twitter is blowing up that old man Pete's punting again. First of all, Pete went for 6 fourth downs last week in Kansas City. And he had just gone for a 4th down earlier in the game, which they did convert. Now, do I think he probably should have gone for it? Yeah, it's probably a spot where you do go for it. However, 2nd and 1, they had a 2nd and 1 on that same drive. Stuffed. 3rd and 1, stuffed. Coach, I can tell you that messes with coaches. They just saw their team not be able to push a pile for 2 straight plays for 1 yard. And also, it was 20-6. The Jets were showing no ability to move the football. The last thing you want to do is give them decent field position and essentially sort of like give them that, open, that open space, not having to deal with the tight quarters. They're open there with the 40. They go down, score, 2013, they're right back in this if you don't get it. I did not mind that punt with the way the Jets had been playing offense and with what the last two plays did. Would I have gone for it? Yeah, I think I would have gone for it, but I understand the punt there. It's not a terrible decision by Pete. I'm sure certain people on Twitter that run accounts that have bots about going for it and then like to yell when coaches don't go for 4th and 4s from their own 19-yard line. I think you know who I'm talking about, are going to be mad about it. But I get it. Every 4th down is different. And I'm going to sound like an old fogey, but you can't just put it all into a computer. I love analytics. I'm a big DVOA guy. I like PFF. I even like those analytics that talk about going for 4th down. I think Pete should go for more 4th downs. I've been an advocate of that. But you can't just put every 4th down in the same category and say, yep, that's a bad decision. If Seattle had just run the ball 3 straight times for positive yards, yeah, I probably would have. And they did go for the previous one. This one, I think they felt like we don't want to just risk giving the Jets any momentum here. I was fine with it. Oh my gosh, the timeouts at the end of the first half were so annoying that Seattle did. Partly because the first half just wouldn't end. But I didn't really understand Seattle's timeout usage. I guess they were trying to get the football back from the Jets at the end of the first half. So I understand why. But Geno got sacked, maybe the second and like 23. And they took a timeout there. If you hear my kids again, I apologize. They are very excited that they're going to Disneyland tomorrow. So that would be what that's about. I'm not starting this video over. But Geno was sacked. It made like a second and 23. And then they took a timeout. I get it, but I also probably just would have let the clock run there. At that point, your goal is just to get back into field goal range anyways. You're not really worried about the touchdown. The time's not going to be a factor. So then Seattle ends up punting. The Jets throw it on first down. Seattle uses a timeout. And it was just like, oh my gosh, the Jets wanted to go to halftime. They weren't calling timeouts. But Seattle kept calling them and extended the half. Maybe not so much a bad decision, but it was just like 30 minutes to end 45 seconds of football at the end of the first half. So that's about all I've got for you guys. Great win. It feels good knowing that we are still alive. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I might try to do something next week. Maybe a live stream during the game. I don't know. Maybe somewhere we're watching Hawks and Lions Packers. I'm going to be more focused on the Seahawks. At the end of the day, you can't control what happens with Green Bay Detroit. You can only control what happens in your game. So hopefully you go out there, you get the win, and you hope the rest of the chips fall into place. That's all you can do. It would have been really, really nice if Miami would have held on Christmas Day against Green Bay, but it is what it is. You can't get too upset about it. So Seattle's not control their own destiny, but to an extent they do, because they can win, and that keeps them alive. We don't know what time all the games are starting yet. There's some Saturday games. There's obviously Seattle won't be Sunday morning. There'll be a few Sunday morning games, but those will be like Panthers, Saints, and games like that don't have any meaning. They'll probably want Seattle and Detroit and Green Bay on at the same time. They could maybe put Seattle Saturday, but if Seattle wins, that eliminates Detroit. So I don't want that. I want Seattle to either play after Detroit or before or at the same time, because I want Detroit playing for something against Green Bay. I would imagine both games will be afternoon kickoffs on Sunday. I would imagine Sunday night will be Jaguars and Titans. So we'll see. Maybe we'll have something special for next week. I can't wait. I'm excited. It's what football is all about. And Denver loses. Seattle's guaranteed a top 5 pick no matter what happens. So life is good, Seahawks fans. It is. Be happy. Sometimes life is good. It's okay to celebrate wins. I'm telling you that wants them to lose for draft picks, it's okay to be excited about your team winning. I will see you guys next time. Go Hawks, and enjoy the rest of your New Year's. Peace.